You know when you watch a movie and you're like, oh my gosh, look at these graphics, listen to this sound, the story, it makes me feel like I'm really here, oh my goodness, I can't wait to share this with everybody. And then there are those movies that make you go, I feel like I'm at church right now. This is taking forever. I don't like it. Yeah, that's Star Trek the Motion Picture in a nutshell. Remember back in the day when you'd watch Star Trek the original series, and there was that thing that made it really memorable and iconic, like the colors. Like everybody had the gold, the blue, the red. It was really flashy and really interesting looking. The bridge was like nice and red, and like all the screens had really cool stuff, and the buttons were beeping and booping and had really iconic sounds and a lot of color, and it was really vibrant. So we're going to do a Star Trek movie, and we're going to take all those ideas from the original series and just not do any of it. You can have that back in like 2009. Instead, what we're left with is a movie that's just like gray. It has no color. It has no substance. Like the sounds are forgettable. I mean, look at this bridge. This is like the most beige thing I've ever seen in my life. There's just nothing interesting about it. It's like they had no idea what they were going to do with this movie and gave us this piece of crap. Not to mention the terrible costumes in this movie. I mean, just look at this. Why? What? Like, where? What happened? And the worst thing about these costumes is there's dick bulges everywhere. Everybody's got like dicks out. It's weird. It's a 3-hour movie of watching Spock's dick. I just don't understand what happened. The biggest problem with Star Trek the Motion Picture is its pacing. It gets off to a good start with the Klingon attack force going up against V'ger, which is the big villain, which I'll get to in a little bit. And you actually get like a good introduction. You get new Klingon ships, you get the new look for Klingons, which is what we've come to know and love throughout all the movies in the series and everything like that. But then after that, it just kind of like falls apart. And you get a lot of scenes that just don't have anything to do with anything. They just kind of threw stuff at you and were like, we have effects too. Look at all this shit. Like when they go into a wormhole for no reason, it's just, they're just flying around and then all of a sudden, we're in a wormhole. Whoa! We're in a wormhole. Oh no! And it's just this really ugly, muddy scene of people going like, fire the phasers. No, don't fire the phasers. It's stuff like that. And the introduction of the new Enterprise takes way too long. When they introduce the new look for the Enterprise, it's like a 10-minute scene of just Kirk and Scotty in a shuttle, like flying around this thing, looking at it from every possible angle. And it's just this scene of just nothing. Remember in 2009 how fast it took for them to introduce the ship? It was like 5 seconds. They flew over, looked at it, went, wow, let's move on with our lives. And then there are just other scenes in this movie, like when they go to transport the science officer on board and he gets all like mashed up and shit, and he dies. And then like 5 minutes later, they beam McCoy on, no problem. Best thing about this movie is, look at McCoy's sick beard. Why did they just keep that on through the entire movie? It looks so good. So, needless to say, the pacing in this movie is completely off, and it just feels like a chore, which is a very dangerous thing for a movie. When you're watching it, and it's like 3 hours, but it feels like it takes an entire day to watch it, because you're like, I just gotta walk away for a minute. Like, you go to the kitchen, you make a sandwich, you get a drink, you call your friend, you check your email, you brush your teeth, and then you come back to like what feels like the exact same scene. It's just a bunch of people sitting on a bridge going, man, this fucking Nebula's nuts. Now, the problem that a lot of people have with the new movies is there's not enough exploration, there's not enough aliens and new worlds and stuff like that. My response to that is, we have like 30 seasons of Star Trek shows. I'm good. My exploration button has been pushed. I want to see the crew kick some ass. I want to see the ship have a cool battle. Like, I just want to see fun action and like pseudoscience and everything like that, which I get from the new movies. Because when you have a movie that's all exploration and like charting unknown space, you get the motion picture. You get the final frontier. They're boring. They're lame. You get a bunch of people sitting on a bridge going, "Ahead, warp factor 3, Mr. Sulu." Like, it's just boring. So let's talk about the actual story in Star Trek The Motion Picture. I'm going to do my best to wrap this up in the most simple way I can so you don't ever have to watch this movie. Basically, we have like a giant robot death cloud coming towards Earth and we have to stop it. Who are we going to get to stop this thing? Why not Captain James T. Kirk? Apparently he's like the only guy who can deal with this sort of stuff. And apparently the Enterprise is the only ship within like intercept range of this giant death cloud, even though they're at Earth, where like all the ships are. So you're telling me that between Earth and Klingon space, there's not one ship, not one, whatever. So Admiral Kirk is now given command of the Enterprise again, because apparently he's the only guy in Starfleet who can actually deal with this sort of stuff, because he has, I don't know, experience. I guess everybody else in Starfleet just sits on their asses all day. I don't know, whatever. And the new character that we're introduced to, which I'll get to in a bit, Captain Will Decker, you know, that really iconic Star Trek character, is super butthurt that Kirk is now in command of his Enterprise. Do you know why? Because Captain Decker really wants to be the captain and want to be it. So the Enterprise basically warps out and goes to meet V'ger, which is basically this big robo-death cloud. It's basically Cybertron. If you want to like boil it down, it's a big robot entity thing. So they go to meet V'ger and they get stuck in a wormhole and shit happens for like no reason. Effects, we have those. And they eventually get to V'ger and they don't know what's going on, and Ilia? Yeah? Ilia, this chick, who we'll get to in a little bit as well, she's like in love with Decker and whatever, and she dies, and then she comes back like 2 seconds later as the V'ger probe, and she looks exactly the same, but she's got like a button on her neck. Okay. And then it's this weird story of like Decker trying to convince her that she's still her by telling them about their relationship and showing her around the ship. I don't care. So Spock then just puts on like a jetpack and he flies to the middle and he mind melds with the thing, and then he comes back and he gets Decker and Kirk and they all go to the middle and they find out what's actually causing the big problem. And this is probably the most interesting part of the movie. So we find out that at the center of this death cloud thing is the Voyager satellite, which is a real thing that NASA launched. This is the best twist in this movie because they're taking something historic and actually making a movie around it. This is the best twist in this movie. And I'm calling it right now. If like 300 years from now a big death cloud comes to Earth and it's got the Voyager satellite at the middle of it, Star Trek called it. So yeah, so they find this satellite and it says like V'ger because apparently it got some like space dust over some letters, and Kirk does the thing and he was like, oh, it's Voyager. Yay. And then they find out that its primary like goal in life is to absorb knowledge and learn about humanity, and that's what's coming back to Earth, or I don't know, something like that. I kind of zoned out. So basically they find out to remedy this situation, V'ger has to bond with like humanity. So what do? They take probe V'ger girl and Decker and they slam them together and they start like making out, and it's gross. They start like doing their thing and they become one. And the problem's solved because love conquers all. Yay! We all feel good about ourselves now. So Kirk's back on the board of the Enterprise and Starfleet's like, come on home. And he's like, no, I don't think I'm going to do that. And he just zips on out. The end. There. You don't have to watch this movie now. You're welcome. Now let's talk about the characters of this movie. Of course, we get all the original series characters back. We get Kirk, Spock, McCoy, Uhura, Sulu, Chekhov, Scotty. Everybody's back. Everybody's exactly what you think they are, except Kirk's wearing like eyeliner or something. Something's off about this. But of course, we get two new characters in this movie. We get the dad from Seventh Heaven. That guy, you know, the most memorable Star Trek character of all time, Captain Will Decker. And of course, Ilia, who then becomes V'ger. Whew, not bad. Looks like this review just got more erotic. But to be perfectly honest, both of these characters are kind of bland. All Decker does is piss and moan. Just, I want to be the captain. I'm in love with her. And Ilia, or V'ger, whatever, she's kind of boring, to be honest. Before she becomes V'ger, she's whatever. You don't really get a feel for her personality, except for she once had a relationship with Decker. And then she becomes V'ger. Thus far, we're not off to a great start here, but I promise you, better Star Trek movies are on the way. They get really, really good very, very soon. So stick with it. So, if you've seen Star Trek the Motion Picture, leave me a comment below. Let me know what you guys think of it, what you liked, or better yet, what you don't like about this movie. My overall final verdict for this movie is a warp factor 3 out of 10, out of transwarp. It's a 3 out of 10. I give points where points are due. It gives us a new Enterprise, a new ship design that's kind of held the test of time. It's still used in games and in comics and things like that. It gives us a really good, iconic theme. It's got a good twist in there with the V'ger Voyager satellite thing. And of course, McCoy's wicked beard. So as always, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that little like button if you did like this review. And more importantly, hit that subscribe button for me for all the latest and greatest stuff that we're doing here on Tender Gaming. So until next time, I will see you all on the next episode of Star Trek The Cinematic Frontier. And all the stuff that we're doing on Tender Gaming as well, and the co-ops play. So thanks again for watching, and I will see you all next time. Damn it, Jim. I'm a doctor, not a movie critic.